Good morning, and welcome to Your Business in Digital. I am Tamara Moloui, founder of Monovan Digital Marketing Solutions, where we help businesses navigate the digital landscape. So excited to be here this morning because we are talking about all things 2023. Because we know, oh my goodness, like we're just a few days away from 2023. Guys, could you imagine just a few days away from 2023? I can't believe it. In my mind somewhere, I'm like still in November, but part of me is like in February as well, too, right? So I'm kind of balancing being in 2022 and being in 2023. As a business owner, I think it's something that we all have to do. So anyway, we're always super excited to be here at Your Business in Digital, really talking to you about how do you translate your business to digital, right? Making sure that you're achieving your goals and achieving your money in the bank, right? Leveraging digital. And the great thing is that we bring all parts of the business here for this conversation. So we have finance, we have sales and pricing, we have operations, and of course, we have marketing, all the really key elements that help you pull the business together. We are here to talk to you about how to move in digital and how the blessings of all these amazing people in your business, or if you wear all these hats, definitely things you should be thinking about. So I'm going to pass it over to them to start introducing themselves. Andrea, welcome this morning. Introduce yourself, and then you guys know the routine. Go around the room, introduce yourself, tell the people who you are, and let's jump in.
Good morning, everyone. I am Andrea Ragu, your virtual CFO. I am the voice of your money, and I help you make better financial decisions for your business. Welcome to the show.
Good Monday morning, everyone. I am Michelle Gordon with Lanyap Digital. I am here as your sales and pricing pain reliever. My goal is to help you to find the way in your correct customer to bring the revenue to the top line and flow as much of it through to the bottom line as consistent and sustainably as possible. So welcome in. Happy Monday. Yes, we are almost into flipping that calendar into 2023, but we've got to finish this year off really strong. So yes, one foot on each side of the calendar we are. Welcome in, everyone.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Michael Wilshire, Director of Business Development and Sales at Monovan Digital. We're always here to make sure that you're driving revenue with your online presence and you're able to measure the impact of your efforts. And yes, we are almost at the end of 2022. And I know because of the snow outside. So that's my real indicator.
Right. Canada tells you, hey, it's about to be 2022. There's a lot of snow outside. I am not in Florida. I'm in Jersey. And I'm not going to like tell you, yesterday I was driving around and I was driving in some snow flurries. And I'm like, what is happening here? Just having to put on a coat. Just the whole thing is just so so mind blowing for me. But I have a good coat. So
you, you're never really ready, are you? Right?
never ready. So Florida, I'll be back. All right. So, guys, this morning we're talking about 2023 predictions. 2023, what do we think is going to happen? Or 2023 trends, right? I know we've looked at a few articles. And, Michelle, I want to kick it over to you to start talking a little bit about some of those pricing strategy articles. Andrew, we'll kick it over to you to talk to some finance trends. And then Michael and I will kind of jump in. But of course, as you guys provide those trends, we can all go through and discuss them to see where things are, because we want everyone to be armed and ready, right? Because we don't know what's going to happen in 2023, right? Michael always says the R word. So, recession. So we're sometimes preparing for that. We never know. Did you hear me whisper? Like no one can hear me. So we want to look to see what are some of the trends, what are some of the things, especially in the industry. So a lot of these articles, some of them, I think they come from Forbes and potentially social media today. So Michelle, jump in and talk a little bit about some of the things you're hearing on the street around pricing and strategy.
Certainly. It is. I'm surprisingly in the Michael camp. It's time for us to begin to talk about the R word, that recession word, because it is surrounding us wherever we are, where you're noticing that companies are taking measures to help to offset, alleviate, get in front of the official prediction or the official, throwdown that this is a recessionary period. How are you seeing it? One of the ways that it's coming to you right now, put your entrepreneur, your business hat on the side, and let's talk about your personal life right now. there are a number of things that you're getting in your mailing that are speaking to it. The escalation of the amount of messaging that you're getting from the retailers and buy me now, buy me now. We're beyond, the normal Christmas thing. We're at the point where, remember, they were actually starting early. There were drips and drabs of this September, early October, that this Black season, that we call it, because most companies come out of the red into the black in the fourth quarter during the holiday period, that this cycle was going to be a bit slower than normal, and therefore they started their Black Friday offers in September. Big boxes were indicating this, like in a Walmart of the world, that they were having Cyber Monday every Monday for the next 3 months of their time. So they were trying to get ahead. And again, I think some of it went viral because other companies were doing it. But that was one example. Layoffs are happening a little earlier than anticipated. Companies are downsizing in anticipation of that retraction. Amazon was one of those companies who tightened the belt a little earlier in their human resources areas in order for them to maintain those margins. So that is happening around us in big box areas and larger companies. So as small business owners, it's something that we should heed. Now, moving into this from a sales and pricing perspective, I've been sitting back and taking notes. And there are some things that we need to consider that we've spoken about all year long that are part of what we're looking at to be important in 2023. That's listed as one of the trends. One of the articles that we're going to look into is a Forbes article that's speaking directly to how to use pricing in inflationary and recession-proof your business. And there are 3 key points that I want us to talk about that are in this article. And the first one is a very relevant point, and it is to be agile in your pricing. Now, why is that important for us? In this area of volatility, and this is something we should be really fairly accustomed to because we've been living in a COVID world for the last 3 years now, almost. Coming in March, we'll be hitting 3 years, but it's our ability to respond rapidly to cost changes, to market changes, to variations that are happening within your client set, to allow your margins to remain where you need them to be consistent and sustainable and around for the long haul. So it's your ability to not just price set, but to understand the movements within your market and to modify where you need. And as this article calls it, it calls price getting. That is equally, if not as important as you setting your price accordingly. Now, that is something that might seem a little weird to say, but believe it or not, you've been doing it for the last 2 years. You've been looking at your information, understanding the volatility and the changes in the market, and then modifying your practices accordingly. Might that be your back of the house work, meaning the steps that you're taking and being a bit more efficient in the work that you're doing to accommodate the margins that you're having, understanding the price of shipping. That is a big example of this in everybody's world who has a product that you're shipping out. What do you need to do with your pricing and possibly how you package things to keep your expenses for your products at a minimum as much as you can, or if you need to modify your pricing a bit to accommodate those changes. So agile pricing is the very first point that we're going to cover here. What are you guys' thoughts on that one?
Yeah, no, I think agile pricing is so important because you have to adapt, right? So you have to probably sometimes even think about, the cost, but then you still have to create that idea of maybe free shipping. So you're thinking about the cost and saying, all right, great. How do I incorporate these costs? Maybe my margins are a little bit lower, but I have to give that consumer what they want in order to be able to move through. And how do I adapt to that? And is shipping the thing that I can adapt to or, make that change really quickly? Or is it something else, right? So I definitely think agile pricing has been, you're on your toes, right? So the customer wants something different. They're expecting that from the customer. So I think that's a really, really solid point.
Now, I think moving into the next point in pricing, so we have 3 points, so we're on point number 2 in pricing that actually marries well with the first point, is our ability to price intelligently and not emotionally. And that's the biggest place that I want us to sit, emotional, moving the emotion out of the equation. We, as a society in here, tend to have a gut reaction when pricing moves or does not move. And I'm going to go with the does not move right away, the sales, I should say. If we put pricing out there, we're doing marketing, and the conversions aren't happening in what we consider as quickly as they should, or in the volume that they should. The immediate response seems to be, well, I have to alter my pricing. Possibly. But as we have been living actually for Lagniappe, one of the things that we in the learning process was to have that intestinal fortitude to sit a moment and then go back to our goals. What were we trying to accomplish with our business as well as the marketing, and then pick apart all of the components to it. Was my messaging correct? Am I getting the views that I need to get? Are they driving to the correct places in our website? Is there a place that they're failing to move forward within our sales cycle? So are they getting to your homepage and then backing out? Are they moving through the sales cycle to putting something in the cart, but abandoning the cart and not actually purchasing? We need to pick apart those things and do some investigating and make sure all of those I's are dotted and T's are crossed before we begin assuming that it is a pricing issue. So intelligently pricing is also understanding your flow of your sales process, but then also in addition to that, has the market changed? And is your pricing a component of that change that should be analyzed? So if many of us don't have as a small business owner, the investment money to do an AI version of it, that the system is telling you where to move your pricing to. That's something that big boxes do. However, there's some core components that we understand by looking at what the competitive pricing is. Understanding, is there something that's moved in the market by being in touch with the CNBCs of the world or the market articles that give you indications of where the market is going? And then understanding internally where your movement needs to be for your pricing, and that will help you to move that a bit forward in the intelligent pricing arena. Oops. Any thoughts from the crew on that?
Oh yeah, so definitely that pricing. So I have some questions actually. So that intelligent pricing, as you're talking about, we know that AI is coming, more and more. It's being more and more readily available to small businesses. So this is where we can use, and of course we're talking about using the data to really inform the pricing, right? So when we say, my question is, as we say intelligent pricing, there's at the end of the year, how am I assessing my pricing right now toward 2023? That's my question for you. If I'm looking at it from that intelligent perspective.
Well, again, I have two opinions on where that final conclusion needs to come from. Your data tells the information. I'm always going to say, revert back to your goals and then revert back to what the clients are telling you what they want. So if your analytics is saying, yes, they're coming to you, the marketing efforts that you have had are pushing the people to you, you're swimming in the right lane, you're attracting the right people, that by your demographics. I'm just not going to talk about price and whether or not you move the price around, because pricing also involves the success of you converting business is more than the price that you put out there. It's the people that you're attracting that you want to attract to your business. So is the analytics saying, yes, I am attracting and the people are coming to me either by response from my offline marketing that you're doing. If you're online marketing, the looks are coming in. They're moving through and they're putting things into the cart and purchasing. That's your first indication to me that you're on the right track or there's some modification that needs to happen. Use Lagniappe as the example. We put Google ads out there, and we're getting quite a lot of hits, that are coming through. But they're coming in, and we're noticing the demographics are a bit different than I anticipated. They're coming in, and we are having problems at the homepage. They're moving through, but not the way we thought they needed to move through. But a lot of the demographics are what we need them to be. So that's, to me, telling me I'm not saying to them what they need to hear for them to know, like, and trust me. That doesn't mean I got a pricing issue. That means I've got to modify something that makes them want to hear and see more to say yes to me. So that part, you've got to clean up that part and make sure that that is correct, to make sure that you've dotted all the I's and crossed the T's. Now, let's talk about the pricing component of it. There is a competitive space in there. Let's use Lagniappe again in that respect. I have three products that are calculators that, as we have moved and progressed through the year, I have found, in order for me to remain competitive in the demographic that I'm seeking, then I needed to modify the pricing to accommodate what was going, if I anticipated and if I wanted those to move forward. Because it is such a competitive landscape. There are a number of offers that are out there, not like mine. There's a lot more that are involved in mine, but when people are looking, those are the things that they are telling me by their inability, or I can't say inability, their lack of interest in moving things to the cart. So when I did all of the homework, and we are still in the midst of doing some of those changes, there's some I's I needed to dot and T's I needed to cross on the marketing side, but also I did the back end work too to understand, am I still competitively priced? Now that there's so many more looks, what is the industry telling me? What are the people telling me that they want? And I had to modify it to go against it. And the conversion started to happen once I did that component of the modification that is endless. It's a continuum. It's a never-ending cycle of that communication. So I hope that answered your question, but if not, keep asking the questions and I'll continue to answer.
No, absolutely. It did answer the question, but I see the importance for, again, when we talk about digital infrastructure, because of course you've got to be capturing all of this data to make those decisions, right? So that's where we look at internally, where are we capturing that information? Where are we catching all those touch points as they pass through? In order for you to understand that, listen, whether or not to even consider whether or not you have a pricing problem, right? So that's what I hear. I think you answered 100%.
The third, let me unmute everywhere. The third piece that we have in pricing gets to understanding whether or not your pricing is aligned appropriately for the clients that you are trying to attract. Are you, in other words, are you marketing to the wrong community of people? And that will tell itself by if they're getting to your pricing page of your products and looking at your products and they're not converting from that piece. Are you taking that information and going back to your analytics and looking at that demographic? Are there some people that you want to have buy from you? And if not, change that offer. So for instance, if people are coming in and they are, lesson that I've learned, let's use Lagniappe again. All market indicators showed me that people were looking for profit margin calculators. They were looking for something to help them with expenses. So everything that we have been doing was marketing toward that. Not saying that other things weren't important, but those were the things that seemed to be the correct avenues to go into. In addition to that, one of the things, but interestingly, one of the first things that converted was the pricing calculator. I think when Tamara and I were going through this, I shook my head and couldn't understand. But then again, because we are full circle here and we have everybody at the table, she reminded me, no, Michelle, when we went after this, we pushed everybody to the product page so that we may look at things holistically. So my strategy was aligned with the people that I wanted to come in, but I forgot that one component because I was so tunnel visioned in what I was seeking for expense and profit, because that's what the information was saying, forgetting that we're also walking into 2023 and we're analyzing pricing as well. So pay attention to it's not a wrong thing, and my pricing was aligned with my strategy and what I was seeking, but the people were telling me they wanted something else. And did I listen? My marketer listened, Tamara listened, she put it out there, she remembered, but me, I wasn't correct. And so just go back to your home strategy, go back to your core goals, and make sure that that is in step with what you're doing in your marketing and your pricing. So the pricing was appropriate. It actually converted. The changes that we did there worked well, but you have to make sure that it is aligned with the demographics that you have coming in, and your marketing strategy is the additional component that you always have to keep on the table. Now, Tamara, we have come to the end of this Forbes article. Should we go into the next article? What would you like to do next?
I'd like to jump in. So, right. Yes. So I wanted you to go through all your pricing stuff before I make my comments.
Yes, please.
So what I took from all of this is business owners need to move beyond their basic income statement and the way that they look at their finances, because you're asking them to go beyond just calculating a profit margin, just saying, well, my price is this, my cost of sales is this, so the difference is my profit. Or my, and the way that they set their price is, well, I want to achieve a particular margin, or they might want to just make X amount in profit. So they just price. Once they cover their cost, they're good. Basically, that's what we're saying. We're moving beyond that mathematical basic formula of price minus cost equals profit. We're moving beyond that, and we're saying that factor, that first line of price, which is your sales, basically, has to be not just covering your costs, but has to be intelligently set up. Also has to take into consideration the possible scenarios, because what you're saying is, you in that agile pricing scenario, that need to be able to respond could come from different sources, the problem, the issue. So it's not just focus on how much your raw materials is costing you. You need to see the bigger picture of where possible sources of stress on your price can come from. And it can come from the supply chain issues. It could come from the consumer themselves not quite, liking your price. It could come from you making a mistake in terms of targeting the wrong people. So we went down the rabbit hole with the whole wrong audience, right? Which made the price make no sense, which makes my business not profitable. So I think the message for me, and what I would say to persons, is what I'm taking away from all of this is we need to graduate from the basic formula and start to look at price as a whole issue by itself, and a whole conversation by itself, taking into consideration taking into consideration new things that you did not think about before that are going to attack your pricing, and then adopt one or a combination of all these different pricing strategies that you spoke about. So I think the takeaway is, we need to move beyond that basic formula. Business owners need to, and we need to get there. Business owners need to get there quickly, because things are happening very quickly. It's almost like when you start your business, you can't just start and take baby steps and say, oh, okay, all right, sales, less cost of sales equals profit, and I'm going to start. No, because the people that you're competing with are already 2 or 3 steps ahead of you. So you need to get there quick, right? So yes, learn the basic formula. I'm not saying no, it has a place, but get to the next step quicker so that you could compete.
Right. That is so Correct. That is so right. There's something that I say often in this space and with my customers. Your pricing dictates what you're putting out there, but it offers to whom you're offering it to and what that message needs to be. It's the core foundation of whether or not your business is going to be successful, because if you don't price correctly and accommodate those things, then you're dead in the water from the very beginning. However, it's just the first step to everything. You have to understand who your audience is. The messaging that you put out there to them and the words that you say are going to determine whether or not they're going to move to the next step. And who you're marketing it to, how your approach is going to be, and the places that you're going to appear are going to be dictated by all of those pieces. And it's not just the front end sales, it's a continuum. Once they click yes, that's actually when the sale actually begins, because everything you do post sale is going to determine the rest of the success of your business. If your internal team doesn't understand how to speak to or to take the ball and then run with it based upon the client personality and the demographics and the need, then the point of failure is there as well. So it's really important that we embrace that, although we're moving into a recessionary time where inflation is increasing, the core business practices are not going to change. You have to just move faster. You have to be agile. You have to remove the emotion and move forward with an intelligent based on data.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. I like that article. Good stuff. I think so. We need to be ally. We need to be agile, intelligent, and aligned with our pricing. Right. I love that. Three good, solid points. So, Mike, I'm going to kick it over to you to do your for us to have the next the next article. So jump into that a little bit and talk about.
Well, we're staying with Forbes, and we're talking digital marketing trends to watch in 2023 during an unpredictable economy. So there's your word tomorrow. We can use unpredictable instead of that R word, right? So they're just these indicators. And I really like this article. They're leaning into a couple of things here, right? So what they're talking about, factors like the high interest rates and talk of real estate bubbles, there's plenty for us as B2B marketers to be wary of as we attempt to continue to grow in 2023, of course. Now, this article is by Elizabeth Shear. She's an executive VP public relations. And she goes on to say that when facing a wobbly economy, she believes that the single most important thing that business can do is focus on client retention. And that starts with communications, digital marketing, and a focus on customer success initiatives. So in 2020, a Gartner forecast that by 2025, 80% of B2B sales interactions between suppliers and buyers will occur in digital channels. 80%. So that's right up there. That's data, that's hard data. You also believe that identifying the right marketing channels and the areas to devote resources and spending will be more critical. Now, all things we can expect coming into an unpredictable economy, right? We have seen where businesses tend to pull back on their marketing spend. That's always been a case. But here they're saying you just have to be really, really intentional and understand where you're devoting those resources across platforms, right? And I'm going to stop just at this first area where it's customer success could gain greater traction. So one marketing trend that has gained critical importance over the past several years is an increased emphasis on customer success and prioritizing retention. So we have talked a lot about, getting in front, being visible, getting in front of your ideal audience, driving that traffic to your website. And here we're going one step further, that it doesn't stop there. It stops with, it doesn't stop. But once you have that customer, what are you doing to retain that customer, to upsell that customer? So definitely a trend we can see people leaning into more to in 2023. And I'll kick it back to Tamara right here because we're seeing like, digital marketing is going to, again, can it save your business 2023? Absolutely.
But here's what's crazy to me: the customer retention, customer success, and customer retention, right, is a trend for a recession. Small businesses, that should be your trend all the time. When I saw that, I was just like, I'm like, I feel like that's a thing. You know what I mean? It should be something that we're looking at, focused on success and getting people into that space. But I do like the idea of looking at your customer base to see what other lines, where are the other areas of business. And then I love looking at the best performing channels, right? What are the top performing channels, making sure that you're focusing your energies in those spaces, because I think that's exactly where we need to be. You know what I mean? Like, we should, when we're doing a performance analysis, and we talked about that last week, we look at those top performing channels to be the spaces that we want to spend more time, So quick comment here. Hey, Uche, how are you? He's like, it's been a long time since we heard from you. Well, I know that my team is hearing from you. I know you spoke to Victor and Maria, so super excited that we're still in contact with you, but great to see you on the show joining us today. But yeah, Mike, I think customer retention and customer success is super, super important, and that should be a trend for 2023, 2022, 2023, every year that you're in business. So
agreed 100%. And
yeah.
this might be where you're looking to lean into your email strategy, not just for, lead generation, but that's where you may want to look at starting as far as your customer success and, what happens after they've purchased. How do you continue to talk to them regularly? How do you continue to keep them engaged and delighted as a customer? We've talked about, things like user-generated content and getting customer reviews. But this is where you really may want to, and maybe easily enough, able to lean into that email strategy and make sure that your existing customers continue to be delighted. Because I agree 100%. If you have a customer that's happy with you, it's easier to upsell that customer. It's easier to learn from that customer and get more of that same ideal customer, right? So you want to make sure that you're following up. So I would say in 2023, this trend with customer retention means a trend with email marketing continuing to be at the forefront. That's my 2 cents for 2023. Email marketing continues to be at the forefront with some additions. And that takes us to the next point. Andre, I know you're going to have some things to say, because we're now stretching into new areas as well. So the next thing that they're looking at in 2023 is voice-enabled search marketing could increase. So an Insider Intelligence marketing report that in 2022, 135.6 million Americans will be using voice assistants. And that is an increase from 2018, when the number was below 104 million. So, and according to a 2019 report from Microsoft and Bing, nearly 3/4 of US consumers use voice search functions and digital assistants. So we're talking Siri, we're talking Alexa, we're talking, I'm afraid to say the word because mine will come on, and Cortana. So, the big brother Google. And as audio search has more capabilities become more accurate, there'll be a significant digital advertising. It will be a significant digital advertising medium that offers similar levels of targeting as other online formats. And of course, this leads into more long-tail keyword searches, right? So, because we are all now learning to use this voice search, but they're saying it's becoming more natural. So instead of saying, books about business in 2023, I'd say, find books about starting a business in 2023. And it'll be a very natural statement. So your SEO is going to look a little bit different. So that's the next thing they're talking about as one of those trends in 2023. It may require some investment in terms of looking at that SEO, and maybe some new tools as well may come into play. So your costs may be affected. That's why I was like, Andrew, you may be looking at some other costs as you start to dive into that voice-enabled search function.
Right. And you know what? I'm going to jump in here and add to that too. So when you hear voice enabled search, right, you start thinking to yourself, oh my God, what do I need to do? Right. Well, think about your content in a way where it seems a little bit more natural. If you're writing a blog, think about that headline, really maybe it being a question, right? Because that's where these tools that we're using are pulling the information from the internet. So you now want to start thinking about, yeah, should I formulate this into a question if I'm writing about blog articles so that if someone searches, they'd be able to find me if they're using that voice search. And you just want to start wrapping your mind around, again, as Michael said, that more natural language, because as we search, we're getting a little bit more and more accustomed to it. I mean, I've been in Jersey for a while, and I think everyone in this house has asked Siri some questions since I've been here. And I was just like, oh my God, they Siri just as much as me. Just my personal assistant. It's like, what time is it? Da, da, da. Hey Siri, what's going on? It's like, she gives us a lot of information, or he, depending on what you have. But I think it's really important that we can simplify the things that we need to do. And again, it starts by, if you're setting up a YouTube description, right? Think about that question, because that's also heavy in search. If you're setting up, that blog to support your SEO, think about the question. If you're doing frequently asked questions on your website. So you want to start thinking about, where can I become the answer? Right. So that's how you want to look at the SEO. The keywords that you research and you get the search volume for is still relevant, right? Because people are going to continue to search in Google, but now you want to take that. When we say long tail, what we mean is a more refined search, right? Because people kind of start adding more words into it. So it's a little bit more refined. It's a little bit more specific. And it's about you showing up as the answer once that search feature happens. Right. Hopefully that makes sense.
And I want to add to that. So, as you said, searching YouTube, searching all these platforms, even, I'll add to it, using that microphone feature to enter, what you're searching for. So it may not start at that Siri or Alexa or that other one that I don't want mine to start, Google. So, but it may start just that when I hit that search button, I no longer want to type, right? I'm just going to hit that microphone and I'm going to ask a question. It also represents an opportunity for small businesses if you haven't been optimizing for voice-enabled search, right? Because now we're talking that, let's see how much people are in that game and optimizing for voice. And that's now another channel, let's say, that you can look at and say, well, listen, I'm not only going to rank for written searches, but I'm going to specifically write, as Tamara said, and the article refers to it as well, where you may write a blog article that's catered for voice search, right? So look at it also as a possible opportunity in 2023 to leverage. And that's if you're looking at that early adoption, and take to this very quickly.
Well, I want to also add, it's not early adoption if 3/4 of people in the US are already using it, right? We're really in that stage where we're really just in the adoption stage. We're definitely not early anymore.
Business side, from the business side and SEO and crit. not the use of it, not the use of it.
Business side, because we started talking about voice search when we were doing the top 7 at 7. We started talking about that at that point. So we're 2 years into this conversation. So definitely at this point, it should, even when you're doing your SEO, right? Questions are how people search, and they've been doing that for a while, even with the word, when they type the words in. So you definitely want to think about it in that way. What are the questions and what are the answers, and you providing those answers? Less about just putting the question in there, making sure that the content you provide is the answer as well too, because when we search, we're intentional in our search. In our voice search, we're even more intentional, because sometimes we may or may not be at the gadget, right? We may be away from it. We may be asking it to read out for us. So we're looking for something that is super, super focused. So there's a definite opportunity there to have the right content show up. All right, we've done enough. We've said enough, guys. Andrea, Michelle, go forth. I don't know that we can add anything else.
All the CFO has to say is find the money to do it.
And mine is really simple. Your sales talk track, when you're putting it together, make it efficient so that it's available for not just voice search, but also the read content. and you can modify to make that happen. So don't be intimidated because we're giving you another channel. Your talk track can be accommodated to match all of those areas.
And as I unmute in all places, that takes us to the next point in this article, which is more brands could leverage micro-influencers for brand promotion. Yet another thing we've been talking about for a long time on this show, and its various iterations in terms of top 7. So they're saying that many businesses are turning to micro-influencers. That's nothing new to us. We've had a long conversation. We've even done a panel with social media influencers, con artists or not. So they're saying that many will turn to micro-influencers and content creators to promote products and increase sales. A recent report by Polaris Market Research estimated that the global influencer marketing platform revenue will reach $92 billion by 2030 and grow at a compound annual rate of more than 30%. So that every year, and that's pretty high, right? And in B2B space, companies are discovering that experts in their field can help them drive sales. They're now discovering this. I can't help it. This is what we know, but this is what they're saying. Micro-influencers are of a particular relevance to brands. They often have, and they gauge the size, 10,000 to 100,000 followers, and tend to command a lower cost than influencers with millions of followers. So there's that cost benefit, of course. And we've talked about, that connection with their audience, that much deeper connection, say, than somebody who is in that millions and above category. Influencers have been proven to be quite effective at consumer marketing on platforms like IG and TikTok, of course. But in business, most prospective buyers can be found on LinkedIn. That's why I believe micro-influencers and LinkedIn thought leadership should be part of marketing budgets in the year ahead. Tamar, I know you're smiling at that one. I know, are they behind? Do we need to be writing these articles? Because we've spoken about this before.
So we're absolutely, I don't know that they're behind. I think people are still kind of struggling through the influencer conversation, right? Because I think it's very convoluted. And so that micro influencer, I think what's important, and I would take the numbers down some for the small business, right? Because I think those numbers are still pretty high. They may still be focused on bigger businesses, but for small businesses, you want to get to those people who have engaged audiences, who can sell to their audiences, right? Because there are many influencers out there that cannot sell to their audience. And that's where we really want to be. We want people who can say, yes, my audience listens to me, they follow me, and we're able to sell to them. One of the people we know is a micro-influencer, CJ, right? Fit with CJ. We know that Fit with CJ he has a sneaker deal. He has a few different things. And I believe, last we checked, he has maybe about 11,000 followers, right? But he's really built himself in that space. So I think, as a small business, if you're looking at an influencer for marketing your business, you have to go do the research, right? Get on their profiles, see that engagement with their audience, see what they're doing, see how many likes they're getting, see how many follows they're getting, see how many comments they're getting, see how many things they're promoting for other people's businesses, and then see the engagement on that as well, too. That's one of the things I love to look at, because sometimes those people, they may draw in their people may listen to them, but when they post something, you'll see, hey, no likes, no follows, no comments, no anything on those posts for the business, right? So you want to find the right influencer that can actually get the job done. That would be my 2 cents on that.
And mine really quickly on that is, it's great to have someone there if that is aligned with your business, but they have to be aligned and speaking to your people, not just having a big following. Can they speak to what you need, and can you come to an agreement on that messaging that moves your business forward in their voice, but with your flavor? That's going to be really important, because you do a lot to set up your business and your brand and what your messaging needs to be and what you want to have viewed. And that influencer needs to be aligned with that. If not, they're not your people, then they're not for you. That messaging and the people that they're going to attract are not your folks. So you have to not be dazzled by the number of people that are coming in, but are they going to attract the right people and can they deliver the right messaging? That's really important in the long run. And have an end date. There needs to be a date where it either ends or you get to reassess that relationship. It is not a forever kind of thing unless you want it to be.
The assessment of the relationship is the success, right? How successful are they, right? Are they driving you sales, right? If you're going into a micro influencer strategy, it's a direct sales strategy, it's a conversion strategy. It's not going to be we don't want that to be what we call a top of the funnel strategy where you're just building awareness. We're going to that person because you're saying, hey, maybe that person has an affiliate link where they're now getting a percentage of sales along with whatever other benefit or whatever else you decide, whatever else is in the contract. So they're making money. They're also getting that opportunity to share, and to only maintain the relationships that work. There's no need for loyalty if it's not driving revenue, right? If it's not driving revenue, because as we talk about this recessionary thing, we have to get rid of what does not work. We must get rid of what does not work. You cannot walk into 2023 using things that are just not working. What else you got in the article, Michael? Anything else?
I was just thinking, how do we get through this all? Because that's only one article.
Oh,
and
that's all right. If you have another article, that's fine. We're going to pass it over to Andrea to talk a little bit about. We're just giving a little taste of everything, right?
Well, I gotta give this last bit of the article because, of course, this is the area that we've been touting, and I know this. We've been touting this. We could see more brands leveraging more experiential digital channels in 2023, right? And we're going the gamut. We're talking about companies can explore more ways to use smart displays, signage, out-of-home experiences to deliver ads and engage customers. And we're talking about from immersive experiences to virtual reality. Fascinating to think about what will become relevant in marketing. Many people are projecting exponential growth for the metaverse, which could potentially open up a whole new frontier. And in fact, a McKinsey marketing report estimated that the metaverse could reach up to 5 trillion in value by 2030. And here's the good part. This is why I didn't want to skip it. B2B podcasts also remain relevant. While the format of podcasts is constantly evolving as big shows on Spotify and other channels like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, like what we're doing right here, gain greater visibility, they're likely not going anywhere. Here's the data. Published by Statista, estimates that there will be 164 million podcast listeners in the US by 2024. Right? So I'll just drop that one there. What do you think? We're doing the right thing here?
We are doing the right thing here. We understand that this is a marketing strategy, right? This is a marketing strategy where people get to build. What we're doing is building awareness. What we're doing is educating. We're building awareness, and we're building trust. So this is an opportunity to show up, build trust, build awareness. And it's so funny, right? I think we've all experienced it, right? We look at the numbers and we're like, hey, we're not getting a lot of views, blah, blah, blah. But I know Andrea talked about it. She was at her event and everybody was like, oh my God, I see you online all the time. I was out to dinner with some friends last night and we're talking about what one of our friends actually saw the show. It was just like, yeah, I see you and Michael, right? So it's like one of those things where I'm like, you seen the show? I had no idea about it, right? And I went to another event at some point in time and so many people stopped me and talked about the show. So that's now a thing that's like, all right, cool. So people are actually seeing, people are listening, people are paying attention to. We're not, in my opinion, I'm not going to stop, right? Because I see the value in being there. And this is the consistency. This is the showing up piece. This is the piece where they're like, yes, I can trust this person. What they're saying makes sense. And sometimes we may say things that you'll be like, you know what, I don't agree with. And that's where the dialogue comes in, right? So we want to hear from you. But what we're doing is we want to really set a place for small businesses to have a voice, because we know that digital is difficult. And we know that you're thinking about all these other things, right? My pricing, my costs, my operations. And then there's this marketing that they tell you that's so important. So we want to be a strong voice in that. So yeah, so I'm like, check.
And it satisfies that need for small businesses to show sustainability, right? Especially when they work in that B2B space. So if, as I said, we're dealing with, and I'm going to coin it here, hopefully, we're dealing with the day of the invisible audience. You're
Right.
not necessarily going to see them in front of your face, right? But it's like that crowd of people is actually there, and until they start to actually take action. You're like, oh, I didn't realize everybody was sitting there listening to me. So let's coin it, the invisible. What do you think, Tamara? I think we hit that one.
I'm like,
Privacy
you
issues,
said it
everything.
before, but listen, it's in my talk track from tomorrow. I'm like, we're talking about the invisible audience. They're there. You don't see them, but they are there, right? That's exactly what it is. Because and then so there's the invisible audience, and we look at that all the time, right? Because people sometimes are just lurkers. I know sometimes online, I'm a strong lurker. I'm like, all right, let me lurk a little bit before I commit, before I do anything, So I get it. That invisible audience. I love that term. That's my new favorite term. The invisible audience to the invisible audience.
You're welcome. What do you all think, Michelle, Andrea?
I have little to add there. This is one what I find fascinating is what they're talking about as trends we've been talking about for 2 years. we've literally been talking about consistently for 2 years. And that invisible audience, I'm cribbing that too. Sorry. I'm cribbing that too. That is such a good one. It's such a good one. But that gave me a visual of the people that aren't there. You're right. We think we're speaking out to the darkness, but no, people are actually hearing us and they're there. They're just lurking. They're just not commenting, and we do it ourselves. So I am all good. Miss Andrea?
I love it. I love the term because, yes, I've experienced it as well. You see low clicks on your post and you think you're not getting anywhere, but then you go somewhere and somebody who you thought never saw your stuff is telling you, yeah, I saw your stuff. It was good. You did a video the other day on so and so. Oh, okay. All right. I didn't even see you react because we're judging it again by the likes and the views and whatnot, which is what the app shows you. But as we continue to see on the show all the time, going beyond the likes, going beyond that, really looking at, going beyond those numbers. Yeah, I like it. The invisible audience. If they're there, they're not doing anything at the moment, but they are listening.
Yeah, agreed, 100%.
Yeah, happy to add that this morning. Happy to
Yeah,
add that the
you're on
invisible
fire.
audience.
You're on fire, brother.
Because that's really where it's at with, as I said, they're the privacy, iOS privacy stipulations and so on. So yeah, there's a lot of things that you may not see, and you may think that you're not getting a reaction. You may think that you're not getting the visibility, but nothing could be further from the truth. And maybe that's something worth diving into. How do we look at those metrics around that and say, well, hey, listen, other metrics are showing us, as we've seen, the traffic, the right things. So if we're seeing all the right things, it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's probably a duck. You're going to see the conversion. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Yep.
And what we've realized in the last 2 years, the reason we push to continue to do a show, right? We started on Clubhouse, and then we're now do this show on all the channels, right? LinkedIn, Clubhouse, Facebook, YouTube, and we do it because we saw an increase in revenue each time. So we're not doing this because there's no, right? We're doing it because this is a marketing channel for us, and we recognize that there's value there, and we're building ourselves as subject matter experts in the field. So that's what we've seen, and that's why we continue to move this forward. So no, I mean, listen, I agree 100%. And Michael is asking, so we've had a lot of articles and we got kind of hung up here. Andrew didn't get to go yet, but he's like, do we stretch these topics and articles into the next show? I think so, because I don't want to squeeze Andrea's stuff into this, because she has some interesting stuff about fintech, those trends, and that finance side of things is such an important factor in these businesses that we're running, right? Because I think there's so many things that are happening now around payments. And what I love about working with Andrea is the how close in digital I like costs are now at the top of my mind all the time. I'm like, if I talk to Michael, it costs me 5 cents. If I do this, it costs. If he does this, what are the costs? If we do this, what are the costs? What are the costs? What are the costs? What are the costs? It's so crazy. So I think that's an important conversation. And we do have 4 minutes left. So Andrea, we want to make sure you get your fear. So we open the show on Wednesday with you jumping into that. But all in all, I think this was really a solid conversation. And I'm glad that we're doing these 2023 predictions because I think it's important, these 2023 trends, right? And what we're hearing in the market. I think it's important for us to stay grounded in that as well, right? We can pontificate all we want, but what's the market saying? What are our peers saying? What's the industry saying? So that we can bring that information to you and you can start preparing yourself, right? Last week, we talked a lot about that performance review. Looking at these trends, looking at what's happening out on the outside is important to connect the dots with your performance review because then that puts it into the real world. That makes it really, really real, So, Andrea, I'm going to pass it over to everyone to introduce themselves as we get out of here. So, of course, I will always like to start with Andrea. Andrea, go for it. Reintroduce yourself. Tell the people who you are and tell them what you're going to talk about when you get back here on Wednesday so that they are coming through to listen.
All right. So, what are we going to talk about? Well, first of all, just to close out, what we did here today. My takeaway from all of this is, of course, I always say everything comes, every single thing we do finds its way into our finances. There's nothing for free. There's nothing that doesn't that you just do that doesn't eventually filter. There's no decision that you make that does not filter into your bottom line, right? It may not filter today, but it's going to filter at some point, right? So I just want business owners to take all the points that we've discussed today. Of course, it's digital driven and understand that this is where business is heading. All businesses, whether you're big, whether you're small, whether you're medium, digital is where all economies are going. You're seeing where even at a national level, at a country level, I mean, America is way ahead. Remember, I'm based in the Caribbean. Y'all are way ahead from where we are. We as well are now jumping on board with things like fintech. And, that's now the new buzzword in our economy now. And we have the governments, different governments of the countries really trying to jump on this digital train and try to make businesses digital and creating infrastructure, that type of thing. We have a long way to go, but everybody's jumping on. And I want all business owners to see that, even business owners here in my territory and in the Caribbean. Yes, not everything might be as applicable as it is in America, but it's certainly coming. And I think as all small business owners need to listen to these digital things that we're talking about and start to see where it could fit in their business. And when we come back on Wednesday, I'm going to touch on those fintech things, how digital is really impacting your finance conversation, and what are the things that you could do as a business owner? What are they saying that is going to be an uptick in 2023, and how it could apply? We're going to talk about the different types. They're talking about embedded finance. You're going to hear me talk about, how those things impact your business. It sounds like a big word and it sounds like something very corporate, which it is. But I think we could break it down and find some applicable ways for small businesses to at least start thinking about it. Right. So with that, I am Andrea Ragu, your virtual CFO, the voice of your money, and I help you make better financial decisions for your business so that your business goes from being a liability to an asset. It becomes a blessing and not a burden. See you guys on Wednesday.
And good Monday again, everyone. I am Michelle Gordon with Lanyap Digital. I am here to help you to relieve your pricing and your sales pain. I'm here to help you to find your something extra that differentiates your business from the pack and ensure that your business is consistent and sustainable in a pricing and sales realm. If you haven't had a chance, go back and listen to our past shows. They stand independently, but there's also a theme that runs throughout every one of our shows. And please come back on Wednesday. We are bringing, as Tara and Andrea said, information to the table, not just from our perspective, but what's happening out there in the community in both big box and in the entrepreneurial spaces that we can utilize in our businesses to help us remain consistent and sustainable. So thank you for joining. We'll see you on Wednesday.
And now Michael Wilshire. Find me everywhere Monovan Digital is. Drop me a line on LinkedIn or michael@monovandigital.com. Thanks for joining us. Hope we see you on Wednesday as we continue this discussion of 2023, what to expect, what are the predictions. And of course, we are always here to make sure that you are driving revenue with your online presence and measuring the impact of your efforts every step of the way. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Oh man, what a show. What a show. I love when we do these articles. It's always so much fun to kind of just hear what the industry is saying, to hear how we kind of match up against what the industry is saying. And, Mike, you say it all the time. Michelle, you said it too. We've been saying this for a while, so we're definitely on par with them. So I love that. So guys, this sounds like a lot of information. I know moving into 2023 could be like, oh my God, we're moving into another year. What do I do? Do your performance review, read up on what's happening in your industry, understand your market. No matter where you are, you want to understand that market. Andrea talks about being in the Caribbean, right? Things run a little bit different there, but you still want to understand what's happening in the US and then take a look at that and understand, how do I adapt that to my business in the Caribbean, right? Because there are elements that you can leverage, and then you think, well, what are the adaptations that I need to make, right? You want to, in the US, if you're in the US, whatever part of the world, you want to look at those big businesses, see what they're doing, and see how you can adapt. So this is why we bring this information to you, so that you are at the pulse of what's happening, and you could take a step back and say, as a small business, if I want to grow, what are some of these things that I need to move forward? Voice, making sure that your prices are aligned, making sure that, when people come to your web presence, that they get that experience, because it's all about experiential, right? You don't have to spend a lot of money to do these things, but you do need to think about your customer journey, and you need to take a step back and think about all the tools. How are they being used, and how does your business present in all those tools, right? And that's what we try to help you do here at Your Business in Digital. Also, we really help you to translate the information and get to achieve those business goals and get to that money in the bank, right? Because that's what's really important for growing your business. So we will be here on Wednesday. I am Tamara Moluwi, super excited to always be here with these amazing co-hosts of mine. They're always spitting some funny games, so I love that. some digital marketing, pricing, finance, operations games. So I feel like I'm a hip hop artist. I'm just joking. Have a happy Monday, and we'll be back on Wednesday. And again, of course, we're going to jump in with that fintech piece. So have a great day, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Take it easy. Bye.